come in, I assure you that we're open. Shoe polish on our signs, cause our locks are always broken. You need that view askew, you know we got you, dude. Showing gratitude and always smiling, never rude. Top 5 movie reviews and what's new. We bring in all the big guns when we coming through. Welcome to the stage. Come on, enjoy the taste. Hurry up, don't come in late. You know we love it, the sacred thing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Live from the Secret Stash. I'm one of 3 hosts today, Christian Cortez, joined always by
Michael Zapsik. Great to see you, folks. Thanks for joining us. And to my right, not the lovely and talented Julia Zapsik, as we are want to see, but the quite lovely and talented
and awesome
John Kokoza. So welcome to the podcast table,
welcome,
John.
Buddy.
And we just figured out that this is the first time you podcasted in over a year.
Yeah, over a year. It might be close to 2 years. I don't
know if it's 2. Was it 2?
Let's call it a year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay.
But happy to be here either way.
It's great. Oh my God. Yeah, probably. My God, it has been like close to 2 years.
I feel happy that I'm here to witness John's return
It's
to
amazing.
podcasting because your pod was one of my favorites that I got to
that's very
witness
kind.
and enjoy. So it's great to have you here, buddy. But you've been a little bit busy too. Like you may have stopped podding, but you also you've been doing some stuff.
We did. Fans of Live from the Secret Stash might have seen some episodes of Point Blank that we were all on, and they might remember that we were kind of perpetually building a brewery.
Yes, you were. That was like a master's class in building a brewery.
Right. We took a long time to get the physical brewery open. We started selling Ross beers in 2019. And then we got this property in like 2021. We opened it to the public in 2023. So, and it's not far from here. We're live, of course, in Red Bank, New Jersey. We're one town over, Middletown, New Jersey.
Yeah.
But yeah, since the brewery itself opened, it's taken on a whole different dimension. You know, we were always making beer and selling beer out to our favorite bars, restaurants, beer stores, and supermarkets. But now, operating the tasting room, much like Mike, you managing this cathedral of comics, it's a whole other job because you've got events that you're planning, people coming that you're entertaining, booking talent. So it's a whole other thing. And yeah, unfortunately, it's kept me from potting as much as I would have liked.
Yeah, but it's been awesome to see that business grow and succeed because you've been talking about that for as long as I'd known you. Like I remember one of the first iconography at that point, like walking into a shared universe, it was just covered in Ross Brewing stuff.
Oh yeah,
even early logos and stuff. But I knew of it before it was like technically officially a thing.
And a surfboard.
Yes, that's where that went. Okay, yeah.
I hate to tell you, I think it's still in Eatontown.
Oh my God!
It was on the 5th floor, and when we got,
let's go kick in the door.
I know.
Well,
they probably built around
with the
it,
flooding that you guys had there, we could have surfed that surfboard right out of there.
Yeah.
Hang tight. Oh my God! Yeah, no, that was. I can't believe that was almost 6 years ago, at least when I had initially.
No, you're right. We started Point Blank in 2018. Ross Brewing, we started brewing the recipes in the garage back in 16 or 17. Took a while to get to market, like I said, 2019. But now it's taken on a whole new thing. I think we've got something like 40 employees. So it's certainly grown a lot, and it takes a lot of time to manage that. But this is the fun thing. This is what we always like to do. And thank you for asking me to fill in for the lovely Julia.
It's always a pleasure, man. Yeah. I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner, to be quite honest. But again, you've been busy. It happens.
Yeah, you have been busy. And we don't get to talk nerdy. That's the one thing that I miss about Point Blank is that we would get ridiculed by everybody, even in the audience. Yeah. But our fellow hosts for getting so damn nerdy.
Yes.
And you and I would be talking.
John is a bigger geek almost than I am. I'll be honest.
You know, Christian,
I'm a geek and I know some stuff, and you know some stuff.
I think I have to wear that proudly.
You should, because you're damn. Yeah.
Well, listen,
I work in the business, and your knowledge is impressive even to me. I was like,
well,
wow,
very kind.
Awesome.
One thing I do remember for all the many, many rounds of combat trivia we did, we had 5 people on there with guests, 6 at times. usually would come down to me or you in the end.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Even before this started, we were talking about something with Star Wars. Mike's brilliant Star Wars
I was
prequels
impressed.
fix.
Oh, thank you very much.
But then it delved into some stuff where I was like, I thought I knew, and then I was just sitting there waiting for them to mention a character I know. Thrawn, okay, awesome, perfect. Yeah, I can jump in. But Thrawn, he's awesome. He's amazing.
Look, the lore gets
Thrawn's our man.
the lore gets pretty deep on that stuff, Christian. And Mike and I have some decades on you, so
Yeah, it's true.
So we've been doing reading and experiencing this stuff for a while.
This is true. This is fair. But that's also been the beauty of doing this show, is also getting to wear the comics college hat and learn so much that I didn't know about. I learned so much that I didn't know about comic books, because that was kind of the intimidating thing for me, was that there was just so much information out there, and technically not everything is wrong or right, or depending on how you view it, canon or not canon. So
and there's been so much produced over the decades now. I mean, we're closer to some of the real long-term heroes being a century old, and there's been so many versions of the stories. Whoever your favorite is, whether it's Superman or Spider-Man, Batman or Wolverine, there's a version that is your version and is right for you.
Right. There's the Hugh Jackman. There's the, oh my God, the Pride of the X-Men video one. There's the Spider-Man is Amazing Friends, where for some reasons Wolverine had an Australian accent.
Yeah, well, and so
which is ironic because
one day he would be
played by an Australian. So yeah.
So Christmas break, the kids were back from college, John and Kara, and I said, guys, when I was in high school, I was very fortunate. Mike knows this, Christian, you may know this as well. I actually worked at Marvel Comics. I did 2 years up in New York City. The first 6 months of those, I actually worked directly for Stan Lee. I was his boy Friday, get his lunch, his dry cleaning. I learned a lot just in those 6 months. The men never sat. His office had no chairs. So before the advent of a standing desk as we know it now in the modern workplace, this was something he had been doing for decades. He attributed, his vitality to that. In any event, I remember at the time, the tape. It was a hard to get tape, which was the Pride of the X-Men.
Yes.
And so when the kids were home for this past Christmas, for some reason it came up. Oh, I know, because we were getting hyped for X-Men 97 coming out. So I was like, I'm sure I had shown them, X-Men the animated series before. I go, guys, but even before that, there was something. And we found it. It was on YouTube, and it was like a recorded VHS. So you had the tracking lines, and they're like,
watch it how I watched it.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, why does Wolverine have an Australian accent? I was like, don't question it. But John actually pointed something out that I was impressed for someone, much younger to have seen. He goes, this is the lineup that's in the X-Men arcade game. That lineup with Dazzler, okay, obviously Shadowcat, Nightcrawler, and Colossus, and that was not the lineup that would go into X-Men the animated series, which is when the video game came out in the arcades, but they were a little bit behind. I guess they thought Pride of the X-Men was going to become a whole series. Not to be.
No. Shadowcat never, and I think she was, we're going to give you spoilers, folks. X-Men 97.
First off, it's incredible.
It was.
In every sense of the word.
Yeah. There were some things that some people, hi, honey, Julia at home had problems with. She was not a big fan of Magneto becoming Fabio.
Oh,
she did not like
with the flowing locks.
Yes, and here's this guy who
she said that from the jump too.
Yeah, she's like she was not happy with that. And I was like, okay, fair enough, gotcha. And the dangling plot lines, the very Chris Claremont.
Well, I was going to say, but that's so on brand, though.
Yeah, it is so on brand. So many though dangling out there. It's like, oh my God. So where are they going with this? And I'm assuming that they're doing this as, to take another fishing metaphor, dangle red herrings for us.
I'm sure. And that was always a trademark of the comics as well. What I watched X-Men the animated series in real time, right? As many of us did. And so this I knew was going to generate nostalgia notes. I wanted to see, was it going to be good on its own? And under the auspices of head writer and showrunner, who is, I think, to me at least, still inexplicably dismissed before the season, Bo DeMeo, he pulled together not only something that, in my opinion, was an excellent sequel and worthy successor to X-Men animated series, but Mike, I'm talking, decades of X-Men comic lore storylines, pulling in the Inferno storyline, pulling in, Cable's future storyline, which is different than Bishop's future storyline, pulling in Operation Zero Tolerance with Bastion, from the 2000s. So there were storylines from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, all seamlessly integrated. And in the postscript to the finale, again, spoilers, but it's been out for a few weeks. It looks like they're setting up two also, I think they were both 90s limited series. I saw the Rise of Apocalypse, and then as well, I think it was called at the time The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, which was Scott and Jean in the future raising their baby who they didn't get to raise. So all kinds of crazy stuff. Very impressive. Very impressive. I think that's probably where those codas at the end of season 1 are leading into in season 2. But at the breakneck speed they move, both of those could be wrapped up by episode 1.
Of course.
And they're on to something else.
I mean, they did Life Death 1 and 2. In another 20 minutes. I was like, okay, cool.
They hadn't even seen Forge before, introduced backstory,
of course.
She loses her power, she gets her powers back, the adversary, the whole thing.
Question for you, John.
Yes.
Timeline-wise, were you working with Stan around the time of X-Men?
No, this was before. This was 92.
Okay.
Actually, let me think about it. I think it might have debuted right around then. Yeah. Yes, I think the original X-Men the animated series ran 92 to 97, hence why this is called 97, picking up where it left off. So it was around the same time, although I in no way was connected with it. And in fact, no one really in the office was, because I think this was made outside of Hollywood or something.
And it was Saban.
Yeah,
Saban.
Exactly.
Saban.
Which is why I think in seasons 3, 4, 5, you saw the quality go down. They switched animation studios. They weren't expecting it to be a hit.
And if you ever watched the original credits, if you see on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutant side, there's a little, I think he's blue or purple.
Pink.
I'm sorry, pink. And he's got red and blue.
Yeah.
And he's running, and you're like, who in the name of God is that? I don't recognize him. And it was, I'm like, is that the gremlin from the Hulk?
That's what the rumors were at the time, and because it's the only thing it even looked remotely like
from Marvel, but it didn't matter because it wasn't from Marvel. No. It was something that they had lying around in the animation house.
And that they just threw away.
Like, whatever, It's like
it lines up with the cell,
which they had him, and they also had actual X-Men Thunderbird on that bad guy side too.
Yeah.
In this iteration, X-Men 97, they replaced those two in that running scene with Lady Deathstrike and Emma Frost.
Yeah,
which I guess died in Genosha. We don't know.
No, she didn't.
Oh, she survived it. Okay.
No, their secondary mutation kicked in.
So. Oh, that's right. I remember that. That's right. And we saw that in the Aftermath episode. Which, okay, so Magneto dies protecting the Morlocks. He creates an electromagnetic shield, doesn't protect them, everybody dies. He lives. Wouldn't then everyone inside that shield should have lived as well? I mean, he talked about them as if they were dead.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. Well,
or we won't.
I mean, they'll take us right to the Krakoa storyline, and everyone's resurrected.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. Because I mean, do you remember a character named Lee Forrest?
Yeah, of course, Lee Forrest. Yeah. She was Cyclops' girlfriend for a while. Yeah.
And who else's?
Okay.
She was also Magneto's girlfriend.
Oh,
for a while.
yes.
These characters sleep around.
And then, I'm telling you, those mutants, they're insatiable. But you're sitting there going, what? But whatever happened to her?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
Neil Conan. Remember, he was the.
By the way, folks, this is my favorite podcast.
sorry.
I'm literally sitting back here. I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
It was Neil Conan, and he was like the camera guy for Trish Tilby.
For Trish Tilby. Yes. GDS, so, maybe? Or?
Yeah, and then, after a while, people forgot about him. It's like, they're not testing well.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I mean, that's what Claremont would do all the time. He'd throw these people out and see what stuck, and but also getting back to the red herrings, somebody could be maybe you thought they would wind up being very important, and then it just petered out.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
And that was like his trademark.
Yeah.
What's your favorite version of that though? When it's the kind of red herring where it's like it's not necessarily important and they teeter off, or it is like, oh, maybe it's not important right now, but it's important then later on where it comes up again.
Certainly, that part is more engaging, right? And I think that cultivates, that readership that comes back over and over. I remember it was my wife, the lovely Suzanne, years ago when we were still dating, and she was still watching soap operas at the time, and I was like, how do you watch this? And then I remember, I gave her a couple of comics, X-Men comics, which were obviously what I was reading a lot of at the time. She's like, I hate to break it to you. She's like, this is
the same thing.
Exactly.
Of course they are. I recognize that from like 1976.
Oh my God.
I'm like, yeah, this is just like General Hospital.
Oh my gosh. Sure.
Luke and Laura. Oh my God.
Evil clones, right?
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Like the twin sisters. If you ever watched All My Children, oh my God, yeah.
I didn't.
I married my twin sister. I married her twin sister. Oh my God, yeah.
You mean to tell me X-Men 97 is a soap opera?
I think there's a lot
Elitis. I'm sorry. Silver Knight Kyle, I just looked over there. I'm Lee Forrester. I'm like, yes, it was Lee Forrester. Elitis Forrester.
By the way, Silver Knight left a comment before. He was like, Michael, do I see a trivia challenge between you two and my posse in the future?
Hey, listen.
We're up for it there, Kyle.
Also, everybody's saying hello in 3 Alarm Comics.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
How we doing, Scotzo?
I shared some good beers with them in the old Shared Universe studio. We brought some Ross beers and some local beers here. They brought some beers up from down south, some from Dixie Brewing and some other beers around Louisiana. So we had a fun night that night.
Oh, man.
What was your last podcast?
No. That wasn't. We have many. I think
the grimness of it. That was.
I remember we hit.
Kyle wants it.
All I need is just a little more time to be sure what I feel. Is it all in my mind?
I now have this as recording. I'm going to put the music behind it.
That's going to be horrible.
He doesn't
we're going to get
need it.
sued by Jack Wagner. Like, oh my God, it's Jack Wagner.
Oh, God. Oh, so good. So good.
There, I did it. I got it before you did.
Got to be quicker than that, Kyle. Come on.
All right, Kyle, come on.
I'll just say one more thing about the X-Men, coincidentally. So we just said we were talking about it. It's Wednesday, New Comic Book Day, what Marvel's got going on. And it's the fall of the House of X, the fall of the Krakoa storyline. And about, I think a week, maybe a week or two ago, Kara was coming home from college for the summer. John is staying in DC, but he came back for Memorial Day weekend. So we were cleaning some things up in the house, and I realized my old night table used to be right next to my bed. When I got a new one a couple of years back, that one went to Kara's room, and I guess I never cleaned it out. So she's like, Dad, you got some shit in here, can you come get it? And you know what it was? It was the original 2 miniseries that launched that storyline that you had given to me that I read so long ago, which was, I think, Powers of X and House of X.
Right.
And like they were ping-ponging back and forth, number one, number 2, number 2.
They did with the fall of the House of X and the rise of the House of X.
Right. So
yeah.
Full
circle time.
Exactly. Just it was good looking through that, and then it made me think like how many plot points that even they originally were trying to set up that maybe because of editorial reasons it got rushed, and now we get the fall maybe before it was able to run its full course.
Don't know, but
I will buy those the fall, and I'll buy them back for $5 each. So there you are.
Now on sale, Jane Silent Pop Secret
in
Stash.
a patented secret stash. Let me see. What I used to get here all the time before Mike and I even knew each other, were friends. What I would always buy is when you guys would package limited series, right? Not exactly. So it hasn't been traded yet, or you can't get the trade, or the trade's out of print. The secret stash always was the place, and still is the place to come for getting packaged runs, whether it's a limited series or a particular storyline from a main series.
We tried to be like unique in that.
Yeah,
we also
I
used
love
to
that.
do, I used to try to do like Shazam versus Superman.
Okay,
I would put in their fights.
That's
into
great.
One thing, and then like even the most obscure ones, I thought would be really cool, and we did. I had the first one had Captain Thunder from Superman. I think it was like 232 or
Okay.
whatever it was. Where before it was Captain Marvel,
Right.
They had Captain Thunder, so they wanted to gauge.
What's
Can
the
we bring
cooler
back
name here?
Well, can we bring back Captain Marvel because they really.
Right.
Do people care if we bring this character
listen,
back?
Yeah.
they did a catch and kill on it, right? They acquired it and then they buried it for decades.
Yeah, well, Marvel does that all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
can anyone say Malibu?
I was just gonna say, where's the Malibu verse?
Yeah,
these days,
right. In the basement under a leaky pipe. That's where they are. So
Jesus, it's buried under concrete, maybe.
exactly in my basement.
Kingdom Come 4.
So what else is new in the world of comics? Mike, catch me
Let's
up.
talk about some comics. We've got Blood Hunt, which is the big
This
thing.
sounds sick. Like when you told me about this comic book,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, folks, for all of you out there, Marvel and DC both put out their summer blockbusters. Essentially, it's like a company-wide crossover for DC Comics. We haven't seen it yet. We saw like a little taste of it on Free Comic Book Day called Absolute Power, in which Amanda Waller is going to destroy the superheroes of the DC universe. And she's going to start by she already started by making the Titans into not villains, but vilifying them because of Beast World. And now now she is going after the big three. She's going after the Trinity with absolute power. So she's going to take out Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman.
Lofty goals, that.
Yeah. I mean, and this is a woman she hates superheroes. And we've seen this before in Marvel. Marvel, they did that with Sir Jeffrey Jaspers.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to fuck around and find out.
And Di Thomas. Inspector Di Thomas. Remember that from the old Captain Britain series? Yes. So we're going to see what happens with that. And another one is, and this is what Christian is like excited about.
This is so cool.
Blood Hunt.
Marvel, yeah.
The Marvel's got Blood Hunt, and it is a vampire has taken over the dark dark force the dark force powers. Yes.
Dark Star, Cloak, Shroud,
and there are more out there. So many more. A couple from from New Warriors. I forget what they were.
Is there a full list of roster out there?
I'm sure there is. Yeah. I bet you there is. But they're trying to blot out the sun and make the earth.
So the vampires controlling them, using their dark generating power to make total darkness on Earth, which would be very advantageous for vampires, I imagine.
Yes, and I mean really advantageous for vampires and for the electric companies. That's very much so. So there you go. So Asylum, that's who it is.
Asylum, Black Mamba, Blackheart.
Black Mamba, Blackheart, Blackout. I think Blackout's dead, isn't he dead?
Well, it's comics.
Maybe
Mike.
in the yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Well, who knows? It's comic books. They're not all dead. Dark Stars. Wow.
There's a couple different Dark Stars. Doorman.
Oh, I forgot about Doorman. Doorman's actually pretty cool too.
Ecstasy, Mr. Negative. Whoa, Mr. Negative is cool.
Mr. Negative is really cool.
Nightwind, Quagmire.
I forgot about Quagmire. I don't think
Quagmire.
he's on this Earth though.
No.
Shroud, Silhouette.
Silhouette.
That's the one for New Warriors. Yeah.
Yes, and also the one at the top.
At the top of the list.
Asylum.
Yeah.
Asylum.
Silhouette, I had forgotten to. Yeah.
You want me to keep going down?
You can, but I mean,
That's the gist of it. Yeah.
So anybody who's got that, like,
so do we know what vampire has coerced these dark force?
We
powers
do,
here?
and we revealed this last week. Did we do it? Yeah. So spoilers. And Christian already told you. Screw you. You're getting spoilers. It's Blade. Blade, who was part of the Avengers in the not too distant past.
So Blade has broken bad.
He has broken very bad.
He's no longer the Daywalker in this scheme. He becomes a Nightwalker.
Now he's a Nightwalker.
But now is this because?
But is he a Streetwalker?
Streetwalker. I was gonna say.
Now
giggity.
These are as you said, the summer blockbusters. So this is the story that's like it keeps coming out. There's new issues of it,
and there's many times.
Well, it'll interweave between all the titles.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So, if you don't typically buy Power Pack or something, you would maybe pick it up to see this story continue.
And yes, the only reason why you would pick up Power Pack. Um,
Oh my god, my dad loved Power Pack.
I think this is an interesting, curious choice on their part, Mike, because what we've seen over the years since 2008, when the MCU has become the greatest cinematic force on the planet, is the MCUification of the books, because they're thinking, hey, if a kid picks up a book, I want him to recognize what he's seeing on the screen, or she. So, dare I say Nick Fury Jr., and all this other stuff, right? Which is an abomination maybe to longtime fans, right? So,
Well, isn't that because Feige's now the head of like just Marvel in general, or is he still just kind of solely focused on movies?
I think they were both. I think there was a lot of butt kissing from Marvel itself to be like, hey, let's make our comics more like the movies. This way, we can bask in its reflected glory.
Right.
But people forget that Ultimates was the kickoff for
exactly. Mark Miller and Brian Hitch.
Yeah, it started out as sort of an homage, like, hey, who'd be a really cool Nick Fury? Samuel L. Jackson. So you've got the Ultimate Universe. And boom.
And the MCU made that almost fan casting come true with
not almost. They did.
I'm saying I would almost call it fan casting, but Miller and Hitch are creators, but they did it as fans of Samuel L. Jackson.
Of course. And they even took the MCU took the Triskelion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Although they relocated it from Governor's Island to DC.
Very slight though. And because we've already destroyed New York enough.
Miller used to do that all the time. He tried to do it with Wanted, where in the book he literally cast Eminem as the character. Didn't translate to the movies, but they got James McAvoy.
Yeah, but it was still horrible. It was god awful.
But what I was going to say here,
and Halle Berry.
Yes. Now, what's curious
doesn't always
to me
work
here is we're about to see the debut of Blade in the MCU, played by the talented Mahershala Ali. Although there are rumors that somehow, some way, they're going to work Wesley Snipes in. Maybe it's a multiverse thing in Deadpool 3.
Yeah, I think that's going to come.
That makes the most sense, right?
If that's how they're going to do it.
But being that he'll obviously debut as a hero, or at least an anti-hero in the MCU, kind of weird to me that they're making in the books him obviously going to be the heel turn here.
True, but
or is there another twist?
Well, everything is not what it seems.
It's if rumors are to be believed on the internet.
Oh,
back in the I'm talking about back in the day.
Okay,
when Mark Miller, speaking of Mark Miller, when he was writing Civil War, he was going to make Tony the villain.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
Tony was going to be, and how many times has Tony been the villain? Like every time.
The Crossing.
And they did have, especially in Frontline, Civil War Frontline, where Ben Urich was like, my God, look, Tony Stark just made $1 billion as a contract. He's war profiteering.
Yep.
And they were going to make him a villain. He was going to be Nick Fury and go after everybody and just be like a complete turnaround.
Right.
Where most of the superheroes are like, screw this noise. We're not, we're all following Cap.
Right.
Now that I found out that you're making money off of this, go screw yourselves. Even Reed and the Fantastic Four turned on Tony in one of the, like I said, if they're to be believed, that's where Mark Miller was going. But they're like, no.
Yeah, they had to pull it back. They made him unlikable enough, but they couldn't go that far.
We've got a movie coming out with Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. We don't want any bad press, no matter how.
Yeah, but do you think that like the movies kind of simplify the explanations then? Meaning like it's I guess making it easier for the audiences to kind of digest why this is going on? Because like making Tony the villain, as you kind of alluded to, was kind of already a thing that they had done, but like everything that had kind of happened to him in the MCU and then building up with that character, it seemed like, well, of course he's going to side one way versus the other. Because I mean, Civil War is still one of the books that is on my to read list, but still. But at the same time, like seems like kind of.
I'll just give you this quick little record before addressing your point.
Go for it.
If you haven't read that original Civil War miniseries, go back and read it. Even if you've seen the movie, it's
different. I know
it's different.
Very
but
different.
it included for me one of the most impactful single panels of my life. I'm talking about Peter's press conference.
Yes. Oh my God.
And
yes.
I'm not even going to get into it. You'll read it. You'll see. But at that point, that was unthinkable to me. Like he was the one guy that would not.
Right.
And so, in any event, go back and read that, Christian.
And yeah, you're thinking that he's going to go one way, and he pivot.
Yeah.
He pivots and goes the other way. So yeah,
but
you're sitting there going, "Son of a bitch," and they had him as Toby.
Yeah.
It was Toby Spidey. I was like, there you go.
But to your point that you're making, when you are adapting these characters that have existed for decades, as we said, in some cases close on a century, you're adapting them to a 2-hour movie.
You're gonna lose. There's gonna definitely be things lost in translation.
You got to hit those key points. So Tony's battle with alcoholism, which was decades of the comic, lasted for about 40 minutes of Iron Man 2. Right. And it was as swiftly as it was introduced, it went away because we realized this is not going to play, to the fans of the MCU. So they do have to, that's a thing with any adaptation. But for the most part, I can't object to how they've done the adaptations. They've translated very well.
Absolutely. I think that Robert Downey Jr. he was fantastic.
Right.
That is.
He's Iron Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Like anytime I think of that character, even now when they do like animated shows of like the Avengers, it's always based on like his likeness and personality.
Even getting back to what we said before about the books, imitating the movies, right? Life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. In this case, art in art. But Tony, the book character, has gotten much more quippy and witty, and he always was hyper intelligent and always had those other aspects going for him. I don't know, genius, philanthropist, playboy, but they've made him much wittier in the Robert Downey Jr. mold, in terms of giving nicknames to people and things like that. That's the MCU effect, right? So if a new reader, if their first experience was seeing the movies, and so the mom brings the kid down to the secret stash on Free Comic Book Day, and it's like, remember you liked the movie, let's read the book. They want it to be at least recognizable for that kid. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And yes, you do get because that's why they did that. They made Spider-Man quippy. When it was Toby, he wasn't quite as quippy.
No.
But then Andrew Garfield got quippier.
Yes.
And so you needed that. And they needed somebody. Toby wasn't bad. Oh, and can I make an apology for something I said last week?
To Tobey Maguire?
Not to Tobey Maguire, no, to Allison Pill. And I was thinking about this. And I'm sure Miss Pill doesn't watch our show.
She's an avid watcher.
She
leaves comments.
I think she's in the comments right now.
I don't think she is. She was. You know what? I was not kind to her last week, and you know what? She was. I just didn't like her in Picard.
I was going to say, in regards to what, her turn as the Borg Queen.
Yes.
Yeah.
As well, and spoiler, but that's right. If you're like, oh man, I was just about to watch.
We've led with spoilers for this. Like,
oh my god, we have forever.
Come on.
But she was fantastic in
Newsroom.
I
thought she was great in Newsroom. All right, so I don't know what you discussed in regards to Picard. I'll try to dial back on the several-year-old spoilers, but I didn't like in season 1, before anything I just spoke to you about, where she kills somebody and then it's very quickly just swept under the rug and it's okay. And she killed a TNG legacy character at that, not a beloved one. Matter of fact, I would say a hated one, but even still, I thought that was a pretty bold move. And then they just like, no, she didn't mean it. It's okay. So anyway, I had thoughts on Picard as well.
Okay, I got you. But no, it was more along the lines of, and you know what,
her performance or
the physical appearance too.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was just
that look of how they designed that character.
No, didn't I call her Pops from? Yeah,
you did.
But
you called her Pops from regular show.
She's a sweet lady, I'm sure.
Okay,
so,
as long as it's not Pops from Luke Cage, played by Frankie Faison. Okay,
he was amazing.
Yeah.
Is that Donald Faison's any relation?
I always imagined in my own headcanon they're father and son. I don't know if in real life, maybe Christian could find out.
If we only had a little keyboard that would allow you
true. I can look at it on my phone,
look.
and I never have.
Oh, that's funny. Are they?
No, they do not appear to be related.
They're not related at all.
They're
Wow.
not.
Well, hold on. Go up a little bit.
They're both very funny actors.
They're both great. So yeah.
Nah, no relation.
All right.
Very funny actors.
Fantastic.
There you go.
I like it.
Speaking of fan castings, how about the gentleman to the left of my screen here being Landfill? Like to the left of his screen. So, are you talking about having John
Wait,
being Landfill?
I don't think so.
What do
Is
you
that-
want me to do?
I want you to, we have an
So-
ongoing joke.
Yeah, we unofficially have a comic book character that we have yet to do anything with, and his
Okay.
name is Landfill.
Okay.
Landfill is
I mean, I do come from Staten Island, so maybe landfill's an
Well-
appropriate. Okay.
I used to work at a
Silver Knight Kyle is our like in-house landfill expert. Literally, almost every other comment.
I know. Yeah,
It's
he's got a
about-
Bible of landfill. So it's
That,
like,
like
references.
I'm excited to go back through and look at it for
'Cause
when
we-
we do eventually make the book.
yeah,
We have all the lore written
I
out
love it. I
already.
love that.
It's the original. The landfill where he lives was the old shack where the Fat Albert and Cosby kids
Yeah,
would practice their musical instruments.
as seen in the hit miniseries Kingdom Come.
Exactly, and they died there, and then that's part of it. He's living on unconsecrated ground.
Okay,
So
wow.
Yeah, the landfill lore goes deep, bro.
it's very
I
deep,
could see that.
especially since it's Jersey.
But I
Yeah.
think that as for the fan casting, and you know what, John, you want to act? You want to be in a?
Yeah, I mean, my debut role could be as landfill. Okay,
Landfill, yeah.
I mean, I'm down. I'll
all right,
direct
thank
you,
you,
buddy.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love it.
I'm honored, Kyle.
Speaking of fan castings, actually, is there like what you were talking with when we were talking about Iron Man and kind of how Robert Downey's casting kind of morphed the character into something a little bit more quippy and stuff like that. Is there other characters where you're kind of glad that casting kind of helped move that character in a new direction in terms of like, okay, that maybe improved upon the base work of what was already there? Because I mean, Iron Man beforehand, it was in a comment before, but it was true. He was based more on Howard Hughes more
Yeah.
so than kind of like
Right.
the newer kind of tech bro people.
Well, which is weird because then they took Howard and made him into Howard.
I was
Hughes.
going to say that Howard Stark becomes the Howard.
Howard
Hughes
Stark
analog.
becomes Howard Hughes.
I have an idea on what you just said, Christian.
Mhm.
I wonder if Mike shares my thoughts. Prior to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Star-Lord in the books was a very bland.
Oh my God! Yes.
Like, just carbon copy of any of these spacefaring, adventurers. And again, with Chris Pratt playing him, being funny. The character in the books now has gotten, I guess, maybe sexier. I think he married Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, for a minute and a half.
Quippier, wittier, more of a natural leader. So for the character, I'm not saying I'm happy about it one way or the other, but I think for the character, he's seen a tremendous improvement since he became, played by Chris Pratt in the movies.
Did that kind of happen with not just Chris Pratt's character, not with just Star-Lord, but did that kind of happen with the rest of that lineup as well? Because I know that Guardians wasn't considered a top-tier comic even when they were doing that movie. And a lot of people were like, what are you thinking?
There was
like a lot of people who were like, excuse me?
There was an entire decade and they didn't make an appearance anywhere.
Right.
Those characters were done. They made a one panel appearance in a She-Hulk comic book.
Mhm.
They were at a space truck stop trying to find where are we going. And it wasn't even them. It wasn't even Star-Lord because Guardians of the Galaxy was Starhawk.
Yep. Starhawk, Alita,
Martin X.
right? Charlie 27,
27,
Nikki,
Nikki 6, wasn't it?
yeah, and who we got to see most of
Yondu.
them appear at the end of Guardians 2
Yes, as Ravage.
as Ravagers, right? So they kind of worked them into the continuity with Sly Stallone playing Starhawk.
Yeah.
But the roster they threw together for the movie were a bunch of space characters. I think probably, if my memory serves, and it could be a little faulty, maybe around 07, 08, they came together under the Annihilation banner. But
And before that, I think they were also in Infinity Watch. A lot of them because they were all
Drax was the old version of Drax in Infinity Watch. I remember the issue
Right.
where the cover is the current iteration of Drax, the knife-wielding, slimmer, stronger
Mhm.
Drax, like bursting out of the body of the overly muscled Hulk-like
Right.
Drax. So, boy, there's a tongue twister. So,
Oh my God.
but I mean, he had that transformation. Obviously, Gamora, much more capable, in the movies. Mantis, she'd been around for a while, even with the Avengers, going back to the Steve Englehart days.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christian.
Oh no! Someone had Silver Knight Kyle was leaving a comment. He's like, "All right, guys, impress me. First appearance of Star Lord. I'm tapping out right there.
Space Cabbie #1. I don't know.
That was Marvel.
Space Cabinet.
Marvel Super Special. I think it was one of the Marvel Super Specials.
That
it
sounds
was-
right.
Yeah. Or was it done by John Byrne, or was it that one before?
I don't remember Byrne being a creator.
How old is the
did.
Star Lord character? Because he doesn't.
76.
Let's see
Really?
here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
I'll let you look that up. I think it was Byrne.
That's a good one.
I think it was Byrne and Claremont. I think it was Marvel
I think he gives
Super
you.
Special.
I think he just gave you the answer. Marvel Preview #4.
Marvel
magazine.
Preview. Yes.
magazine. Yes.
Byrne did the
Yes.
later issues.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
it was Englehart and Steve Gann, who I would not have guessed.
No, and Steve Gann, who would not go on to do anything else.
No, and just worked on.
No, because he
worked on Skull the Slayer. But yeah, Englehart. That's funny.
and he sort of shared the same origin as Vance Astro.
yeah, well, similar. Yeah.
Am I also mistaken in remembering or something along the lines that when you were working at Marvel, because you said around the early to
It
mid
was 92 to 94. Yeah.
isn't that when Marvel kind of brought the character or at least the name Guardians of the Galaxy back? Because wasn't it a comic like way back in the day?
So-
then it
so-
disappeared.
1960s.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are from 1,000 years in the future, so we would have called it the 30th century. Now it's the 31st century,
Mhm.
and they were stuck in our time for a while. They became
Honorary Avengers.
honorary Avengers, right?
They fought
'Cause
Korvac.
Korvac, and I also remember they're in the famous issue where Henry Peter Gyrick
Guts
throws
the
everyone
Avenger,
else and says, "Look, this is the core 7 we're going with," and that's when Falcon came in and Hawkeye's mouth dropped. But they were on the team then. But you're actually 100% right, Christian, and I think this is amazing that you knew this. 91, 92, they relaunched the Guardians as a series. I want to say. Jim. He went on to create Shadowhawk for Image.
He did.
Jim Valentino.
There you go.
And yeah, and I loved that series. I loved it. I loved the throwback that we had two versions of the same person, Vance Astrovic. One living as Vance Astro in the future, using his telekinetic abilities along with Captain America's shield, and
Which
one
he found, yes.
in the present who would take the codename Justice and become part of the New Warriors and the Avengers.
Yeah.
Divergent timeline.
Yeah.
So
That's where one of the
that's a good call, Christian.
yeah,
Yes.
and that was the first time that the Guardians of the Galaxy was used in over a decade. I think the last one was a Marvel team up.
And
where
wasn't
they-
Yondu part of that lineup initially?
he was. Yeah, he was with him. Yep.
So it was Marvel team up where I think it was Marvel team up 88,
Okay.
88, 89.
Spider-Man.
And that was the last time they were seen until
That
That
early
She-Hulk.
90s. The
the She-Hulk, the one panel where they
Yeah.
were looking for directions. And seriously, they were
That
at
was
Space Buckies. Yes,
That was Byrne. Yeah.
But I like that because that one panel is kind of the humor of the movies as well.
Of course.
Like, I just I very much appreciate that. But then that was my confusion with Guardians, was because I knew very little about them and I didn't know, like, those were characters that I had never heard of even when the movie came out. So, but then once I learned about like the original lineup and then the mid-90s one, it was like, oh, okay, so it seemed to be kind of an amalgamation of a couple of different eras of the characters. So that was like, oh, okay.
Well, the Guardians back in your time, they were showing you the legacy characters that, it's Wolverine's great grandchild, and yeah, because you're like, wow, and she has adamantium everything too. That's weird, and you're like, holy crap.
I remember, although the exact given name escapes me, the Sorcerer Supreme of the 31st century, who was a reptilian, a red sort of snake character, but human size, also made an appearance as one of the Ravagers in
No kidding.
in Guardians 2.
Thing that bums me out is that they weren't able to use Hollywood as one of their that is one
Hollywood.
of the Ravagers. Yes, Wonder
Hold
Man.
on, let me put on the comics college hat.
There was
Who
a
is
character
Hollywood?
named Hollywood. Turns out that Simon Williams Wonder Man is functionally immortal. So he went.
It's made of ionic energy.
Yeah. So he survived all the way to the 31st century. So he took the code name Hollywood and became one of the. It wasn't just the Guardians of the Galaxy. There were also, damn it.
Yeah, they had an Earth-based team as well.
Not like the Cosmic Avengers, but they were like something.
Yeah.
If anyone out there,
Galactic Guardians?
no.
No, but that was a spin-off of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Was it the Galactic? They might have been the Galactic Guardians. I don't know. I forget.
I remember. I thought that was.
You're going back into your pictures of 1992.
They were getting a little, I thought, oversaturating it. You know,
Okay.
now we're going to do the Galactic Guardians.
So I actually have another question in regards to your time at Marvel. When you were working there, what was I get that I wonder if there was a couple of moments where this happened, but like, were there any comic releases where like when you saw or heard that was happening, you were like, I can't believe I'm here in a time where that is coming out.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes. They were called X-Force #1 and X-Men #1. And they changed the industry. They meant amazing things for Marvel, and then within a year or two, they gutted Marvel, and it was the launch of Image because of the success of those books and those creators. But to be there at that specific time, I can tell you one of my jobs I worked in the sales department, was we would get returns from the comic stores, and typically how it would work is you're buying a certain amount of issues, and if the issues don't sell, a certain percentage will be able to be returned to Marvel for credit, and or returned to your distributor, returns it to Marvel. In any event, they don't want you shipping all these comics back, right? So they're like, just rip the covers off and send the covers back. Except a lot of books back then, as part of the gimmick era, were polybagged. So nobody wants to rip open the polybag.
Polybag?
Yeah, the bags that comics come in.
Oh,
you've seen them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Not the boards and bags, but they're sealed.
Sealed, and they may throw like a collector's card or a hologram, something in there as well. So if the book shipped like that, typically the retailers wouldn't rip the bag open, then rip the cover. They send the whole thing back. So I might have had, I don't know, 1,000 copies of Books of Darkhold #1 or Spirits of Vengeance, that whole line that were all polybagged, and I think might have been over-ordered a bit.
Yeah, the Executioner song and
yeah. Who another storyline that they
touched upon,
folded into X-Men 97 season 1. Right, Carl Denty, the FBI agent, using all the tools of the X-Men's various enemies over the years. I think that was episode 2 of this season that just happened.
Yes, Executioner. Yes, very good, very good. Trying to think, I'm trying to think of what I would love to have been around for. It's been like, that would have been really cool to watch. I mean, being in the comics industry, you
do get to witness some cool stuff.
I got to witness.
Puts cool stuff together right here.
I know, but I got to witness the Justice League Avengers crossover. Oh. That I would have loved to have been in the Marvel or DC offices to see that art coming in, just being like, oh my God.
Those conversations alone must have been like
insane.
Well,
Kurt Busiek and George Perez just talking to each other, but they were old friends and they probably had shorthand for stuff like that.
Oh yeah, but at the same time going to the suits to then pitch it.
Yeah. But I remember before that came out, do you remember, I think there were these pages. We didn't have the internet, so I don't know where they existed, but like there was like 4 pages of black and white art of, I guess, late 70s, early 80s, what would have been.
And they still exist.
Yeah, but I remember like we lived off that for so long. They have to make this book. They have to make this book. And it took decades for them to get the legal stuff out of the way and finally get together and make that.
They teased it in Comic Scene one time. And I was like, holy, because they had.
What was going on? So wait, what was the situation?
Before the internet, we had to read magazines. It's true.
Holy crap.
True story, folks. We had to read magazines to get our info. And all that stuff was like 3 months out of date by the time we got a
Right,
hold of it,
right.
because it had to be typeset and shit. So we're like, oh my God, you found out. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Remember the
Alamo?
But those pages are Rob Liefeld owns them now.
No.
Yes,
That's amazing.
he does. But we got a teaser of them in a magazine called Comic Scene.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, it's Kang and the Lord of Time. And
Yeah.
holy cow, they're battling it out. And there's an egg involved somewhere. And they folded the egg
They
into
did.
that.
They
into
did.
that
Oh,
iteration
God.
too. But what the thing that blew my mind was when Armageddon 2000 was happening back in 1990.
Okay. This is bananas. I'm going to let you finish. I just have to just interject. When you were explaining to Christian earlier at the outset, right, about Blood Hunt and the idea of the summer blockbuster, I would say one of my favorites, I didn't say this then, one of my favorites ever was Armageddon 2001 that I read in 1991, which was predicting 10 years in the future.
Yes.
And of course, I now have to understand that even that future they predicted is 25 years ago in our past.
It's insane.
That's how old we are now, Mike.
I
But
know.
please,
oh
continue
my
your
God.
point. I didn't bring it up, and it's so weird that you brought that up.
No, but that was one of the it was one of the first, weird,
Yeah.
just big things. And it had somehow leaked that
Yes.
Dan Jurgens was going to use. Now everyone was trying to find out. A superhero named Wave Rider came back in time to prevent the rise of a supervillain named Monarch. Monarch.
Oh.
And Monarch was in complete armor. It was blue with a star on his chest and blue yellow.
Yep, blue,
and
yellow,
yellow.
and you couldn't see his identity.
And it was created by Dan Jurgens.
Yep.
He was the architect behind this. And so everyone thought it was going to be Booster Gold.
Yep. Or the other big suspect was Captain Atom.
But it was going to be Captain Atom.
Exactly.
Because Dan Jurgens like, I'm really clever. I'm making people think it's going to be Booster Gold. But it's going to be Captain Atom.
But then people, I guess,
Found out about it.
Exactly.
They found out about it. And then they pivoted again for like the third time.
Yep.
And it was the most uninteresting
Yeah.
reveal. It was
Anticlimactic.
Hank Hall.
A Hawk.
No, not that one.
Not this one.
No, not that one.
I'm trying to find Monarch Star.
Monarch. MONARCH.
Right. Put Monarch DC.
The Monarch DC comic. There you go. There you
That's
go.
a badass
Now,
concept.
years later, right? I'm talking literally decades later, they were able to realize that original vision, and Captain Atom did become Monarch in and I forget whatever, Infinity something it was
Right,
at the time,
yes.
but not Infinity, Crisis. But yeah, that was an example of the fans finding something out and influencing what they actually did in the
And
books.
ruining it because then Monarch would become extant,
Yeah,
who would team up with Parallax in 0 Hour.
Yeah.
And
just become a
Hank
stooge.
Hall was not
No.
a thinker. He was in Titans. He played Hawk. He was Hawk.
Yeah.
He played Hawk. He was Hawk. And look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, wow. Good memories, Mike.
I know. He didn't have a star on his chest. I thought he did, but he wasn't. But I was convinced it was Booster Gold.
Yeah. No, Booster Gold does have a star, so maybe that's why too. Also, the colors were blue and yellow, so you're supposed to think it's an evolution of his costume. But
Well, I was also convinced that Ralph Dibny killed Sue Dibny in Identity Crisis.
Okay, that would prove not to be correct.
Do you think that that's one of like those kind of reveals that if they were with DC films ever leading towards an adaptation of that they could probably rectify that reveal with somebody else? Or do you think it's too integral to the storyline of that story for them to make
Hank
change
Hall's not
that
integral to anything,
significant?
even
No.
to Hawk and Dove.
Oh my God, no, he never was.
But I would love to see it adapted. But yes, then they could do it the right way.
I would love to see him and even take the original idea of having Booster Gold too. And this is perfect for Booster.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's so
take
on
someone
brand for him.
comical, makes him serious.
Yeah, makes him serious and makes him a threat worth. I mean, because
The idea of Booster Gold as a threat, based on what I do know of that character, like is actually
laughable. Yeah,
But they do it with Plastic Man in recent days, right? He's supposedly
What?
literally one of the most comical characters of all time. He's a living cartoon, and in that Injustice storyline, they went out of their way to show no, he's actually the deadliest man alive, and even Superman fears him because he can go up inside you, and that sounded weird, but
that's true. But they also did that.
He does what the fans think Ant-Man can do.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Well, they did that in Freedom Fighters by Robert Venditti.
Yes.
The Plastic Man.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be the SS from and the Freedom Fighters is an Earth where the Nazis won World War II.
Pre-crisis, we'd call that Earth X.
Yes, we would have called that Earth X, although they tried to make it Earth swastika.
Right.
But Julius Schwartz, who was Jewish, was like, I ain't having none of that.
That's a bridge too far.
We ain't doing that. And besides, it looks, how are you going to do that on a typewriter?
Yeah. How do you say it out loud?
Yes. You could call it Earth swastika.
I always loved how the Justice Society Earth, which presumably the heroes are older, they've been around longer, they willingly refer to themselves as Earth 2.
Right. Because they're polite that way.
Yeah.
So that's the awesome thing.
Well,
we know our place.
You young whippersnappers can be Earth 1. Sure.
Yeah, you want to be Earth 1? Who can? But it's no skin off my nose. And that's what actually Charlie says something really cool there.
OG Blue Beetle too. When he needs to get serious, it's so fucking rad.
It is. It's amazing, and it's really cool, especially in the Jeff Johns Booster Gold
absolutely.
series, where after he got when they did the DC countdown, and they killed off Ted Kord, which mistake, but
that was one of the I very much enjoyed. I know this is kind of a sidetrack, but I loved the Blue Beetle movie, and I hope that they do a sequel to it.
And you see
how that was
who they were
up.
very much teasing is playing Ted Kord. We were picking up what they were laying down. Yeah, I mean that looked great, and he would be perfect casting for that.
He would be amazing.
Oh man, come on, James! Please give me the sequel to that I want so badly. Plus, he's in universe with that line of.
I think they made it so that he was.
Yeah. So I think that the events of that movie, or at least the character, are canon.
If we lose Henry Cavill, get Jason Sudeikis, I don't know if it's a fair trade, but it'll be a funny trade.
Yes, it would be. It would very much be. So
I gotta say, this was kind of one of my favorite episodes recently, to just kind of sit back and listen to you just get inundated with so much comics knowledge.
Nerds.
It was awesome.
Nerding out. That's what we do.
Complete nerding out. How's it feel to come back to podcasting?
No, it's great, man.
Like you never left, man.
Exactly. I love it. It feels great to be here. This is a new experience for me, podcasting live from the Secret Stash.
That's why we call it live from the Secret
Stash. Is that where you get the name from?
Surprisingly, that's where we got the name, yeah.
But no, good to hang with you, Christian, and of course, Mike.
Of course, and I still sell comics. I just want that out there. I do.
You just got to come down to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash.
Damn, I'll sell comics to you. Come on down. But there is one thing I do want to tell you people out there in TV land. This is really cool. We just talked to them today. We're going to be doing a pop-up here in Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash on June 22nd.
Ooh.
The Dixie Lee Bakery will be doing a pop-up event here. Superhero-themed cookies and cupcakes and baked goods. We're going to have, it's going to be sort of like
I'll be there.
Yeah, let's see if you will be here.
I will be here as well. We did some work with them as well.
I know you did. So David Burke and the David Burke's Dixie Lee Bakery here on,
What a great name.
I know, I love that.
80 years strong they've been going.
Damn straight. I lived in Keensburg for 18 months.
Okay.
Against my will.
You spent some time there, though?
Against my will.
I was chained to a radiator.
He did a stretch.
Yeah, I did. It was like, oh my God. You heard me like singing in the backyard, breaking rocks. That's what I had to do. So, June 22nd here, I think David Burke's going to be popping in himself.
Popping in for the pop-up?
For the pop-up. Just for a couple minutes. But his delicious wares will be here, and we're quite excited.
So because you brought that up, and I will definitely be here for that.
Awesome.
Couple quick notes. as we're running short on time. Number one, as we alluded to, we did a beer with David Burke and Dixie Lee Bakery this past winter. It was our black and white cookie stout. One of the things that Dixie Lee Bakery does better than anyone is their black and white cookies. They actually ship them all over the country from their website. And people that have lived and grew up here in Monmouth County or on the Bay Shore, they moved to Florida, Arizona, they still want those cookies and they get them. So we did a black and white cookie stout, and Chef and I teamed up on that recipe, and that was a delicious one. Awesome. And then more recently, we did a beer called Il Tricolore, which is the tricolor, which is what the Italians refer to their flag as. And we did this for our Italian Day celebration, where we did a rainbow cookie stout. So the stout had all the ingredients of a rainbow cookie: chocolate, almond flour, apricot, and raspberry jam. But then we wanted to top it off with actual rainbow cookies, and we thought the best place to get that would be Dixie Lee Bakery as well. So that came out delicious. And the last thing is, a couple months back, Chef David Burke, myself, and a guy by the name of Kevin Smith, the three of us were hanging out at an event for a really great cause. It was for the launch of the Smodcastle Foundation, 501c3, and the work they were doing to help set up playgrounds in memory of the Sandy Hook kids that died during that tragedy. Mm-hmm. So the three of us got together and said, we got to come up with something. So that hasn't happened yet, where the three of us have worked together. Of course, we've done the beers with Kevin and you guys. Right. We've done the beers with Chef. Maybe on that day, inspiration will strike.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, because I don't know if Kevin's going to be in town either.
Uh-oh. We'll see.
I don't know. You have to go to Smodcastle Cinemas to find out if he's going to be around on the 22nd.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Live from the Secret Stash.
John,
and before we go, where can the people find you?
Where they could find me, I'm on Instagram. Forgive me the name. This was a time when there were a lot of phony accounts. I'm the real Boss Ross. Of course, follow Ross Brewing on Instagram. We got some pretty big announcements coming over there, and yeah, maybe you could find me walking the streets of Red Bank, popping in the doors of the Secret Stash.
Oh,
damn straight!
And again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for the invite, fellas.
Of course, buddy.
Great to have
you. It was a
you.
blast.
Thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Peace out.
We love you.